Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another edition of the Monsters Den. Today in the co-captain's chair, once again, Mr. Chris Alo. What's happening, my friend? How are you today?
Hey, everybody. Hey, Pete. Thanks for having me on, like always.
Oh, you're very welcome. Great to have you. Today is actually the first of what hopefully might be many Monsters Den episodes in the future. This is Chris Alo's Picks Day, right? So I've asked Chris because Chris probably watches more movies than I do. And it's usually a nice collection of stuff that he really digs and some stinkers and what have you. So I said to Chris the other day, I'm like, why don't we do a show where, because I know you watched a lot of films last week, pick a little stack, talk about them. So Chris has got some really interesting films, most of which I don't think I've ever seen before. In fact, I don't think I've seen any of them that you picked this week, I don't think. And some really interesting titles. So I'm going to turn it over to Chris, and he's going to kind of talk about them here.
Okay, cool. The first one is a brand new one. I think it came out like maybe a week or two ago. I've actually watched it twice in the last week or week and a half because it's great. This is the new who put this out? I think it's Severin Films. Is it? No, I'm sorry, Synapse Films.
Oh, Synapse.
Just put out the new deluxe Blu-ray of an unbelievable horror exploitation classic called Massacre at Central High. This is the slipcover, and the inside is the steel book. And I think is it 2 discs or 3 discs? I don't even know. I think it's 2 discs, and there's a really nice booklet. If you haven't seen this, and Pete, you never saw this one, right?
I've never seen it, no.
All right, next time we'll have to get you over to my place, and we'll watch it. I think you'll like it. It's I've known it for years. Here is my of course I had it on bootleg VHS. This is my bootleg DVD of it that I've probably had for 20 years. I have another bootleg DVD of the Italian version called Sexy Jeans, which is the same movie, just with porno parts cut into it, which completely doesn't match. It's terrible. But anyway, the thing is with this movie, it sort of toes the line in between a horror movie and an exploitation movie. And it stars Andrew Stevens and this other guy, I can't remember his name, but he's in a ton of stuff from the 70s. And they were friends in, I guess, grade school. And then they meet up again in high school. And when they were in this other school, they were the kids who, took care of the bullies in that school. And now, a few years later, the kid comes to Andrew Stevens' school, and things have changed because now Andrew Stevens is one of the bullies. And his buddy is like, hey, you've changed. What's going on? And he's like, hey, man, this is all set up. We run the school. And it's fascinating being a New Yorker to see a California high school because they have classroom stuff outside and their cafeteria is outside. And I don't know if it's real, but they show you the kids eating like bowls of fruit and cherries and stuff. And they have like silverware. I'm like, is this real? I'm like, I don't know, because we're from New York, so we never had that.
That doesn't happen here, no.
Totally not. But so, of course, one by one, the bullies start to get knocked off. But that's only the first half of the movie. Then there's a great twist, and I don't want to give it away. But what really blew me away is this is just a Blu-ray, but I could not believe the quality of the transfer. Completely blew my mind. It's never looked as good as it does now. There's a bunch of really cool extras, trailers. My buddy Mike Ingle from Fangoria does, I think, like a 1 hour or longer interview with the director. It's a great flick. It's totally underrated. A lot of people, I'm sure, have not heard of it. It's definitely a 70s cult classic, but I watched it twice, and I would totally be up for watching it again soon. And Massacre at Central High. It's got some gore. It's got some great nudity. There's only 3 girls, and they're all gorgeous, and they all get naked. One of them is Rainbow Smith, who was a 70s cult icon, and she was in Lamora and Revenge of the Cheerleaders and The Incredible Melting Man. and it's just a really, for a low budget 70s horror movie, it's just really well done. It's the classic tale of the haves versus the have-nots. Like I said, there's a great twist which I don't want to give away, but I would highly recommend it.
So a couple of comments. So first, I almost
Sure.
thought you were like describing that Knock Knock film that I loaned you that we talked about on a couple episodes ago, because bullies and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, there's some similarities for sure. This is light years. No offense to anybody who did Knock Knock, including my buddy Sal. What's up, Sal? But yeah, this is light years ahead of Knock Knock. I mean, this was released theatrically. I don't know how big of a hit it was, but it did make money. I mean, it was on VHS, and I don't think it was ever legally released on DVD. So this Blu-ray is the first legal release, at least in the U.S. in many years. I don't think it came out. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, put it in the comments. But I guess I can get rid of this crappy version, this bootleg DVD. But it's just really well done. I mean, there's a different. Listen, I love crappy movies. This is not a crappy movie. It's actually really well done, and it holds up. I mean, other than some of the hairstyles and the clothing, but
it's got Andrew Stevens in it. I mean, right there.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
he's been in everything, right? So.
He's been in everything, and he's very young. I mean, the cast is fairly believable as youngsters, and it's a good looking cast, and it's there's a big twist which I do not want to give away.
Cool.
But there's good gore and action, and that's why I said it's sort of a horror movie. It's so toes the line so much so that this version I had in my DVD section in horror, but Sexy Genes, which is the same exact movie but with the porno inserts, I had in my exploitation section, and that's just a bootleg. Another bootleg, but without a cover. So It just goes to show you, like in my head, I'm like, well, is it horror? Is it exploitation? But either way, if you like that sort of stuff, it's a good one for sure.
Very cool. And so I would say leave that out. Next time I'm at your house, we'll watch it. I gotta say, I love
90 minutes.
Yeah, I love the cover of the steel book, but man, that slipcase is pretty lousy.
Yeah, and this is one of the Italian posters for Sexy Genes, and I think, that's the new art they did for the steelbook.
Yeah,
and this is the artwork for the other artwork for Sexy Genes, which I have this poster framed at my house for obvious reasons. My buddy Sean got me this one, but yeah, it's just. It's a fast-moving. You never get a minute to breathe. It just barrels along, and it keeps you guessing. Even until the end, you're like, where is this going? But it's a good little flick. And of course it ends, and I'm like, well, you could see why they never did a sequel, because there's nowhere to go. Like this was the story. But really well done little movie. And hopefully more people will catch on to it. I mean, like with my Hudson Horror Show, I would have loved to run this, but we never found anybody that had a 35 millimeter film print. Although I know the Exhumed Films guys who run everything, they did run a print of it in Pennsylvania at a drive-in over the summer. So maybe there's a hope if things clear up and we start up again, because I would love to do it. That's always been the goal for me to show movies I think people will like, but that I like too.
Yeah, and maybe some stuff that people haven't seen before, right? So
totally. I mean, so many people. When we showed stuff like Rolling Thunder or Switchblade Sisters, people were like, "Oh my God, this movie's great," but I never heard of this before. So that's always a plus, turning people on to movies they never saw.
Speaking of, before you go on with some of your other picks,
Sure.
I just got these in today, and this is something that I never saw before, but you've highly recommended. Just in from Screen Factory.
Invasion of the Beagles. What a 5-star classic. I told you the other day, Pete, I like that movie so much, I bought a 35 millimeter film print of it, and we ran it, and that's another one. People came up to me going, "Oh my God, it's so much fun." I mean, it's funny. There's a couple parts that are kind of scary. It's very sexy. The ladies are all beautiful. There are some lines that just laugh out loud funny. And I think you'll like it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to watching that. And then I got one that I had on DVD and I just upgraded to. We got a
just classic.
Hammer Classic, Vengeance is She. And then one that I've always wanted to
Well,
own. What's that?
I didn't even know that one was on Blu-ray.
Just came out.
Oh, okay, nice.
So I'm assuming the original She is hopefully not too far behind.
Right.
So we'll see. And then this one, which I may have to do Rubber Monster follow-ups, right? So
that is very cool. I have one of those Mole People action figures somewhere.
Oh, do you? Wow, very cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a great one. Again, I didn't know that was on Blu-ray.
Just came out. Gotta love Scream Factory, right? Scream Factory is great.
Banging stuff out. I got their email earlier today about they were having some kind of sale of stuff that was going out of print. So I was like, okay, I got to check that out.
Yeah. I go on their website like every week now.
Oh, wow.
It's crazy.
That could be dangerous. That can definitely be dangerous.
I know. All right, back to your picks. Sorry.
All right, this one. This is another one from the 70s. This one came out, I think, in the UK under the title The Death Wheelers. And this is an Arrow video, but I believe it's Arrow in the US. And it's a different kind of zombie / Living Dead movie. It's called, I never know how to hold this, Psychomania.
Psychomania.
And, yes. And it's, this is, again, the artwork that's pretty famous. Let me pull it. And it always reminded me of the Misfits. Of course, this movie predates the Misfits. This was on the posters and some of the other imagery. But long story short, it's very British. It's from the early 70s, and I can't remember the actor's name, but long story short, there's a motorcycle gang of they're like late teenagers, early 20s, and the leader of the gang wants to kill himself because he wants to use this black magic to come back from the dead. And when you come back from the dead, you look exactly like you do, except you're invincible to harm. But you have to believe that you are going to come back from the dead. So when they come back from the dead, as this motorcycle gang, they drive around and cause just total mayhem. Just running through the streets and driving through supermarkets and running people off the road and just nonsense. Just total craziness. There's no blood or gore at all. There's no sex or nudity at all. So it really is somewhat tame, and that's why this is one of those movies where I'm like, this would be a fantastic remake. Like if we were like producers, I would like, Pete, we should totally get the rights for Psychomania, because you could jazz this movie up and still
take it to the extreme, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. And like when they kill themselves and they come back from the dead, they look totally the same. And I'm like, okay, like for our remake, they come back the same, but slowly, like their faces like become more skeletal or deteriorated.
Yep.
Something. But it's still just the way it is. It has that 70s charm, and there's just something about it. It's not scary or gory, but I like it, and it's definitely a Living Dead movie, but not a zombie movie. Sort of like Dead and Buried, or even Shockwaves. It's like that subgenre of the zombie movies. Okay, it's a Living Dead flick, but it's not a flesh-eating zombie movie. But fun. And some of the motorcycle work is really impressive. And so yeah, I would if you catch this somewhere streaming, or if you can get the Blu-ray for cheap. And again, the Blu-ray is very grainy because 35 millimeter film is grainy, but there's a ton of detail in the grain. I mean, I was like, wow, I saw things in here that I hadn't seen previously. I think the last time I saw this was on VHS. That's how long ago it was, but still really holds up. And that's Psychomania, aka the Death Wheelers.
Psychomania, love the title.
Yeah, very cool title. And this one though is last one definitely a stinker, Pete. I showed you this the other day. I have bought this movie 3 times, and I told Pete that's it. I really haven't liked it any of the 3 times.
But you still
I still bought it. I still bought it 3 times. And I'm like, that's it. I can't do it anymore because I don't even like this movie that much. Like every time I buy it, I'm like, all right, I'm going to like it this time. And I watched it the other night. And I'm like, I still don't like it. What's wrong with me? So I started with a bootleg VHS like in the late 80s or early 90s. And then, God, this was in probably the early, I can't make it out. It was early 2000s. Here's the DVD for Porno Holocaust. And then just recently, some months back, I got the remastered Blu-ray of Porno Holocaust. Now, if you're not familiar, especially for younger viewers, in the 70s, like porn movies were almost mainstream. I mean, they were huge. Movies like Deep Throat and Debbie Does Dallas. I mean, these were movies that they cost nothing to make, but they made millions and millions of dollars.
Yep.
They were talking about Linda Lovelace from Deep Throat on the Tonight Show. I mean, that would never happen today. No. So porn came this close to breaking into the mainstream. So and then at the same time in the 70s, Italian exploitation and horror movies took off with the cannibal movies and the zombie movies in the late 70s and early 80s. So there was Jungle Holocaust, Cannibal Holocaust, Zombie Holocaust. And then somebody was like, hey, let's do a movie with porn and this like zombie cannibal kind of guy on an island. And let's call it Porno Holocaust. Never released in the States, as far as I know, theatrically. This was released in Europe. And stars George Eastman, who starred in as the title character in the U.S. It was the Grim Reaper, and in Europe it was Anthropophagus, and that's a crazy movie. Yeah. In the U.S. it's known as the Grim Reaper, and there was a sequel too. God, I can't think. Absurdus, it's a quasi sequel. And George Eastman's in it. It's a terrible movie. I mean, it's just awful. It is the most unarousing movie I have ever seen. The cast is all ugly, and for the most part, and they are completely awkward. Like, I wish there was like a running commentary with the director that he could talk about it, because the actors who are engaging in these awful, cringe-worthy sexual acts, they don't even know how to kiss. I'm like, what's wrong with you people? Like, are you from Mars? And I'm thinking when I'm watching it, I'm like, maybe these are like just regular actors that somehow got suckered in to doing a porno movie, and that's why they all look so awkward, because it is painfully cringeworthy. I mean, I was watching it, and I was like, oh God, it's terrible. It's terrible. It's awkward. There's only this one zombie thing. Some big black guy with some grease paint on his face, and he does eat some people and rip them apart. It's just terrible. I found the price tag on it, and it was $25. I'm like, what's wrong with me? Like, I could get like a pizza and like a 12-pack for $25. I'm like, so yeah. So this is from Code Red, who you can't blame them for putting this out, because I'm the sucker that bought this. Directed by Joe D'Amato, who's famous for doing a ton of schlock with Laura Gemser from the Black Emmanuel series. He did, which I just watched and enjoyed, Emmanuel and the Last Cannibals. He also directed Black Emmanuel, which is not Black Emmanuel. I think he did do that one, but I just saw Emmanuel in America, which is totally fucking insane. That's a whole nother story. But this is garbage. Yeah, don't do what I did. Don't buy this 3 times, because I could have wasted my money on some cool action figures or something, or some other movie. So
it fails. It fails as a porno film, and it fails as a horror film.
Absolutely. There's really no. I did watch the extras, and I think the interview with George Eastman was probably the best part, because he talks a lot about Grim Reaper, which, funny enough, now I think just got re-released by Severin or Synapse. and they came out with a Grim Reaper stuffed, like a little stuffed toy of the Grim Reaper. I don't know if you ever saw Grim Reaper.
No.
It's like a early. It's basically like a slasher movie, but instead of him using a knife, he's a cannibal and he eats people. And Tisa Farrow from Lucia Fulci's Zombie stars in that, and it's wild. That's 10 times better than Porno Holocaust. So yeah, steer clear of that one. But yeah, that was the stuff I watched. I watched the last couple days. But Massacre at Central High. Yeah, I give that highest possible. Yeah.
Cool. Well, I am looking forward to seeing that. That looks.
I think you'd like it. It's not funny, but yeah, it's action packed and got some great twists.
Cool. Sounds good. Well, there you have it, everybody. Chris Alo's picks of the week. Well, 2 picks and 1 steer clear of. 1 stinker, right? Got to have a stinker.
Yeah, 1 stinker of the week for sure. I mean, it's just going to you call what the dog of the week.
Yes.
So we'll have to come up with some kind of name, but yeah, it's thank you for sure.
There you go. Very cool. Well, I want to thank Chris for coming on and talking about some of his recent watches. Very, very cool. And we'll have some more coming up. I think the next Monsters Den episode, which will hopefully be happening sometime next week, we'll have Rich Catino joining us, and we're going to be talking about some additional zombie films. So we've already talked about the Romero trilogy, the first 3, on a previous episode. So Chris and myself and Rich will all 3 of us will be picking 3 other additional zombie classics, or maybe near classics, right? For you guys to listen and check out. So that's coming up probably sometime next week. So stay tuned for that. And visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. Of course, we're here on YouTube.
All the damn time.
That's right. Pretty much all the damn time anyway. So for Chris Alo, I am Pete Pardo. Have a Merry Christmas, everybody. You may or may not see me tomorrow. We'll see how that goes. A couple things on the agenda for the next few days, but otherwise it's going to be a pretty quiet rest of the week. So we'll see soon. Happy holidays, and take care.